Hello, everyone. Welcome to Abnormal Investigations. I hope everybody's doing good tonight. I'm actually on time, but Jessie will be a little late tonight, guys. She said a smidge late. Also, Travis is running a little bit late. So, AI Nanny Pam, thank you for moderating. Sharon, thank you for moderating. Good to see you, Dana Affliction, Margie Burt. Good to see you, Norma, Sharon, Pink Pixie, Dawn Moore, Dana Affliction again, John M. Nancy, good to see you. Margie Burt, good to see you. All right, we got a lot of Pink Pixie in here moderating tonight. Good to see you, Pink Pixie. Got a lot of our people in here. Amy Tongue, good to see you. Tyler, good to see you, buddy. Tyler's going to be co-hosting with us on a upcoming show Friday night at 10 o'clock. He's going to sit in on a show. OCSG, good to see you, my man. Always good to see you, and I'm sure Christy's not far behind you. Tim Wrestler, good to see you. Good to see everybody. I'm going to go ahead and throw Randy in here too. I'm going to visit with him for a little bit till we get everybody here. You ready, Randy, to come on stage? All right, I'm going to bring Randy on stage. What's going on? Hello, Jenny.
Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Not a whole lot, just chilling. Was looking forward. Didn't want to miss this for the world.
Well, Travis just put in chat. He said, "Thanks for covering for me, Randy."
Problems, Travis.
Yeah, this will be a good one. It's always a good one whenever Travis is on. It's always a very interesting conversation, and it just gets deeper and deeper the more we keep going into the chapters. Tonight, we're going to be going over chapter 6 and 7 tonight, so should be pretty interesting.
I think is it gives us a better look at what we're looking at from this information that he's giving us. These aren't normal animals like a lot of people think. If they were, we would have found where they lived by now. As many decades as there's been people trying to find where these things live, if these were normal creatures, you could track their footprints and find where they live. But they're not normal, evidently. And we don't know a whole lot about them.
Yeah, and they wouldn't throw rocks at you.
It seems like they give you 2 warnings, and then after that, they're going to hurt you. Because if I recall correctly, that night you were with Sarah, I think Sarah warned you twice. And I think, didn't they chuck rocks at you twice before they hit you in the head with that stick with the fishing line? Or am I wrong on that?
I think I might have been warned that night, and I was pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think I actually threatened to spank one of them. I don't think they like discipline.
No, they don't have a sense of humor, and they won't be mocked. You go to mock them, and they're going to hurt you. Or at least they're going to get your attention to where you don't do it a second time, hopefully. If you're going to do that, I'd wear a helmet. Seriously. I mean, the U.S.
And,
Army issues helmets for a reason. It protects your head, especially from rocks, falling from the sky.
and another thing too. Look at the size of that log that it left on the hood of my vehicle.
And they put it there gently.
Yeah.
How much do you think that log weighed?
Whenever I went to grab it to move it off the car, I didn't expect it to weigh very much, but I couldn't really get my hand around it, so it was pretty big, and it probably weighed 20, 25 pounds. It was waterlogged. It was soaked in water. So, yeah, they had to lay it up there.
What's interesting is I remember you had some EVPs. It was calling you to the water, like come to the water or come in the water or something like that. And when it lets you a waterlogged log, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I didn't want to go in there and bathe with it. I didn't feel that comfortable yet.
You probably don't want to go and camp there either. Probably wouldn't be a good idea. I wouldn't suggest that for anyone.
Right.
Nor spraying yourself down with female cologne on your next boots on the ground. Don't do that, man. Don't do it.
Right. And Vicky says, Mike, do you mean when the thing beat on your truck? No, my last boots on the ground, Vicky, it laid a large, like half of a log on the hood of my car in front of my light. So, yeah. If they wanted to hurt you, they would have threw a bigger rock. Yeah, Amy, it actually hurt. I don't know if y'all could see. I actually had an indention in the side of my head where that rock hit me. It actually made like a divot in my head.
Hey, do you think that impact knock some sense into you? Did you learn anything from that?
I learned that if you're going to mock them, duck.
But the problem is you didn't see it coming. You didn't see any of those rocks coming until after they hit.
No. I didn't even know if y'all heard it until I talked to Jesse, and Jesse was like, oh, we heard it. It was loud.
I heard like a thunk on my headphones that I was wearing. I have some black headphones that are wired, and I had some Bluetooth headphones, and I could hear the whack clearly. I mean, that had to hurt. The initial hit.
Well, when it hit me, it kind of, I got a little dizzy. That's why I pointed the phone down. It hit me right here, like right above the temple. The only thing that really kept me from getting really injured, the light that I was wearing that night has a wide, hard plastic band. So it hit the band and still put a divot in my head. So it was thrown pretty hard to be able to go through that hard plastic and still leave a red mark and a divot in my head.
Well, I think in the future, if they warn you, if you get 2 rocks thrown at you or 2 sticks or 2 anything, I think I'd be backing off after the second one. Just, unless you're wearing a helmet,
Right. Another thing too is I thought was pretty interesting. The red light that everybody was talking about. OCST said he saw it fly at me, actually. Kind of had a theory on that red light. We had a mist or a fog, and it was 85 degrees, so we know that it was not my breath. What if that red light is like the red burner of an oven, and the humidity was 81% that night? So that heat from whatever was there was causing the vapor that we were seeing. It was maybe using that energy to cloak, and it was causing a heat exchange with the high humidity, which was causing the vapor in the air. Just a theory I had. Can't prove it.
How would we test it? I mean, is there any models that we can come up with to test that theory? I'm just
one way I would think that you may be able to test that theory would be to use a digital thermometer with you and to get a spike and a reading of heat and have the red light and the mist at the same time. And I think that would be a really good indication that we're having at least a difference in temperature phenomenon at the least. That rock flew like a pro pitch. Yeah, it felt like it too. All right, we got Travis Carpenter backstage. I'll go ahead and bring him on real quick. Let's see here. There we go.
What's going on, guys? Only the most professional tonight, and I apologize.
Oh,
I
you're
am,
no bother at all, man. We usually get on here and talk anyway. We can talk forever.
dude. I heard that. Give me, uh, let's chit chat for like 5, 10 more minutes, just because I'm in the car. I was in I do a small group on Mondays. Well, just a little free chicken and let everybody know what was going on. So, you know, uh. Stephen, he texts me. He's like, "Hey, can you be on these lives and let's talk about chapter 6 and 7?" I'm like, "Heck yeah, let's do it." And I put it on my calendar. And then, me being the amazing husband and father that I am, I completely tell my wife and kids, "Oh yeah, we'll go to Dolly. We'll do this." I'm up at Dollywood on a roller coaster last night. I'm like, I've got to be on a live in 30 minutes. Man, I totally messed that up. I'm sorry.
Actually, I had a migraine last night, so it
Oh,
was
okay.
good.
Whew.
So it all worked out good.
Dude, I heard that. I'm about 10 minutes away from the apartment, so we talk there. We're talking about Romans tonight and doing all that fun stuff. It was a good group. It was a good group
Oh,
tonight.
good.
So,
Man, there's just so many things going on.
dude, I heard that. Talk to me real quick about what's going on with you in Oklahoma and all the daggum rain and holy moly weather modification, bro.
Man, I'm telling you, our lake right now is so full. It's well, there's a bridge that we use on a main road, and it was completely under, and we just got the dam open and got the bridge to come out, and now we're getting rain again. So it's like it's all coming right back up, and it's probably a good half mile up the road. The water.
Dang, man. That's wild. Um Did they? What do you think? I know this is paranormal cryptid, shows. What do you guys think about all the stuff that we're seeing when it comes to like? I think it's pretty open knowledge now that weather modification's happening, right? Can we all
Oh
admit
yeah,
to that?
right. I had a theory. One of my theories was the Bible says, in the end times that there will be birth pains and
Ooh,
weather changes, and Jesus didn't say that it wouldn't be man made.
that's a good point. He didn't say it would be man. D- Randy, what do you think about all of it, buddy?
All I can say is the United States government has been manipulating the weather since the Vietnam War, and that's all I'm going to say on that subject. Other than what they have now in 2025 that we know nothing about.
Yeah. That it's definitely getting to the point where, my wife is even saying, she's like, man, I'm just sick and tired of them messing with it. I kind of have to pull her off the ledge a little bit with some of these things. It's getting that open, just out in the open with it,
Whenever I
Well,
was young, the weather, just being young, I remember playing outside with my friends, riding our bikes and stuff, and we would have like blue skies, beautiful days. Then you would have like the big thunder clouds, and it would rain a little bit, and it'd stop, and then you don't have that no more. It's either hot or it's flooding.
Yes. Yes, it's been wild. Yes, it's been hotter, flooding, been wild. These strings across the sky that then make the sky go milky, and it's like, come on, like we all know what that is. Like, you can't just BS this anymore and be like, oh, that's a that's just condensation. It's like, no, it's
Yeah.
not. You know what I mean?
Well, the other night I had something happen, and I'll get your opinion on this. And I do not understand what happened. Uh, I'm still blown away by it. Went boots on the ground. I'm going to throw Jesse on here too. When you're ready, Jesse, just give me thumbs up. And the other night I went boots on the ground. And while I was out there, I kind of had a phenomenon happen that I've never had happen. It's happened a few times, but it's a new deal. My camera screen that I'm recording with, it goes red or it will go blue right when something's happening. Well, on my last investigation, it was 85 degrees outside Fahrenheit. The humidity was 81%. Miserable night. And I was standing down there, and of course, I'm in the flooded area. And the flooded area makes it even worse because you know what it smells like after a flood. You got that stink, where the waters went down. And so I'm standing down there, and the bugs are everywhere, right? And I'm using this light right here, exactly this light. I've got a light on my camera pole right here, and it's a white light. And I was using it, and the next thing I know, my screen goes red again. And I'm like, okay, it's going to do that again because it had done it, 2 or 3 times. And then while I was standing there, a couple of different things happened. The bugs that were flying around, they're either the bugs turned red or there was little bitty orbs. I couldn't tell. They start buzzing around, little red deals going everywhere. And then here comes this like mist comes through, this big mist. And I don't know. I don't know. Some people said they saw a face in it. I think Jessie thought she saw a face in it. I'm not good at seeing things. I'm the world's worst. Don't send me a picture and ask me if I see something unless it's right there.
Bro, I am the exact same way. I'm the exact same way with fake. People will send me like, you see this? And I'm like, I couldn't see that. I just can't. I just can't see anything. And I don't want to be rude to anybody. I was like, don't send me faces. I can't see them. Like Dad could see them amazingly. Like Dad could see it.
Right.
I no can do. That is not my gift. But the little red thing, those orbs, man, I don't know a lot about them, but that could be, I was watching a podcast and it was talking about, things in the ultraviolet and ultra, infrared spectrum. Like those orbs, could they be just little almost reflections of something in that realm that we're not seeing?
One theory I heard about the orbs is like the orbs are like from a fourth dimension.
Yeah.
And we can't see fully into that dimensional space. So all our eyes can see is like the round orb. That's one theory I've heard.
Yeah, Chuck Missler talks about that, and I think that's a definitely a good point, Randy.
And I think L.A. Mazzulli's also talked about that as well, but I could be wrong.
Yes, L.A. more. I have heard L.A. talk about that. L.A. and Chuck were big pals, and I definitely have heard that from L.A. too. But you're right. It's like, go ahead.
I'm sorry, sir. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, Randy, go right ahead, brother.
We don't really have enough information. I mean, we have encounters, but we don't have actual data on what those actually are. So it's just, I guess it's all in theory until we can somehow prove it what it is. But would you survive it if you got to prove it? That's the thing.
Yeah. What do you think about these people that say, "Oh, I'll jump through a portal and go"? I don't know, man. I don't know if you can survive. Your body can survive that realm.
I've had close encounters of being near a portal, and then I almost died from internal bleeding that they couldn't find out what was going on. So I would say portals are. The times I've been around them, I've had health issues and stuff that the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. So I would say they're not healthy to human beings.
I always wondered on that too. In the Bible, when Jesus was talking, he said that no one else comes nor goes except for him, and he stands at the door. And I kind of took that, as metaphorically as we can't go into that realm in these bodies. Only he was able to do that, which was in a glorified body. I just don't think we're equipped to be able to withstand that. I don't think we're meant to be able to do that.
Yeah, we
Hey,
can't even
but
go into a watery realm, let alone a spiritual realm. I mean, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
there's something else. Jessica had a couple of friends who wandered into a portal that opened up temporarily, and they wandered back out, and they all died from that
Oh my
experience.
gosh.
Went in there, they all died from something later on. I think within a year or two, they had all succumbed to some kind of cancer or something.
That's wild, man. I hate to hear that. I'm almost there, guys. Forgive me,
And
forgive me, forgive me.
oh no hurry at all. I enjoy this chit chatting too. It makes you wonder a lot of things, man. I know a lady that's child was surrounded by orbs all the time, even in her own home. But again, not pushing my beliefs off on anybody, but she didn't believe in using Christ to get rid of it. She done other things, and she never could get rid of it until Grandpa came over one day, and Grandpa seen it. Grandpa was a Southern Baptist, and he pulled the Bible out and went to work, and she said she never seen it again.
Makes
Grandpa just
sense.
what Grandpa wasn't having it.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
Sometimes those older, our older generation, they know.
That's exactly right. Hold on.
No, heaven forbid. Our parents and grandparents actually know something?
I wasn't about to tell my grandpa he didn't know nothing. Mm-mm.
What's amazing is when you're young, you think you know everything, and then you grow older, and then you realize you didn't really know anything.
Didn't know Jack. Yep.
I was raised in that generation to where grandpa would warm your butt up just as fast as mom and dad would.
Right.
So
Well,
I
that's what
knew I knew
these
better.
younger. That's why the military doesn't try to recruit old people to go fight, because we know better.
Yeah.
They don't believe that they can die. They think
Randy, I'm
oh, a
glad you
bullet.
said that. I'm glad you brought that up because the Bible, talks about that too. It says as we get older, we learn, that our teeth don't grind as well as they used to, and we become afraid of heights, and we start recognizing things that we don't as a younger age. And, my uncle said, and I don't know if you'll agree with this, but this is what my uncle said at one time. He was a United States Navy SEAL, and he said, "You don't send your smartest to combat first." The ones that have the experience, that have the knowledge, you kind of protect those. They are your commodities, right? The other ones, the young guys, just come out of boot camp.
Yeah. Why did the National Guard go in last to any type of call?
I think they needed some cleanup or something.
Oh, stop.
We got to clean up on aisle 7.
You
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
laugh. You guys laugh. I just got back into my apartment. Speaking of cleanup, my dog
Uh-oh.
decided to. I dare show this,
Oh
but
no.
got into the. It was a fresh box, but got into the box of these.
Oh,
So
Oh
they're
no!
all over the place. So I've got. Let me clean this up real quick.
Oh,
My
no
poor.
hurry,
Look
man.
at them. Hold on. Hold on. Let's see if I can switch this around. I don't know if I can switch this camera off. He's sad. He's not
He's
in
so
trouble, but
he's so innocent. I'm sure he didn't
he
do it.
is. No,
He's
one of
like,
these Bigfoot came in here and got it and did it. So no, it's okay, buddy. Let me clean this up
he's
before I'll be
only
right
sad.
back.
All right,
He's
man.
only
No
sad
hurry.
because his time got cut short.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's right.
it's amazing how animals are like so much like humans. If you don't get home in time, they throw fits and make messes for you to clean.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think they have that internal clock, like ducks and dove and everything that migrate. They know when it's time to go, when, they know the time.
Oh yeah. Well, cats definitely do. I'll tell you that much.
I got one more for you, Randy, that you might enjoy. My other uncle is a Marine, and
Hoorah.
I had a cousin that was in the Navy, I used to make fun of my cousin, and he would say, "Don't make fun of your cousin for being in the Navy." He said, they're just as important as everybody else. When there's a war to be done, who do you think's going to drive us over there to do it?
Exactly.
So, and then of course, my cousin would say, the Marines were only the security on the ships at first. That's how they started out, was security on naval ships, and you know how it all goes.
You know why, right? Because the Navy can't be trusted. They gotta have Marines up there for security because the Navy. I'm kidding. Just joking.
Oh, my uncle was wild, man. He scared me to death one time. We was out fishing, and I thought it was cool, that he was a Navy SEAL. I was young. I was probably like 15, 16. And we were out there swimming in the water. And it wasn't real deep, probably 6, 8 foot, just enough where you had to swim. And you could bounce off the bottom. And it was real muddy, murky water out in the lake. And I told him he had accidentally hit me or something with his shoulder. And I told him, I was just playing around too. I was like, don't make that mistake again. And he's like, oh, you want to fight in the water, huh? Man, he grabbed me and swam me to the bottom of that lake and held me on the bottom of it in some kind of weird move. And then started punching me in the solar flex. And then he swam me to the top of the water. And I said, you could have killed me, because I was gagging and everything. He's like, no, I know how to resuscitate you. And started laughing.
The average civilian don't want to mess with a Navy SEAL, and you damn sure don't want to mess with a Navy SEAL in the water. Not a good idea.
Especially when you're 16 and weigh about 120 pounds.
Yeah.
I think I'd take my chances with an alligator or something.
As long as you can see the alligator, you're probably okay. It's the ones you don't see stalking you that's going to get you.
Right.
See, I used to live in New Orleans when I was a kid, and we'd go swimming in the swamp water. We'd go early in the mornings because they would have to lay out on the bank because they're cold-blooded. When they started moving into the water, that's when we got out of the water. But you couldn't pay me enough to get in that water these days. No way in hell. I wouldn't go swimming in that water again because I know that they can get it. You can't.
One of my favorite stories that when my aunt and uncle were building their house in Florida, right behind was a canal where they were building, and they had stopped by the property to check and see how things were coming along. And there were these two large guys, and they were both
Would you grab me
in the canal behind where the house was being built. They were taking a break in the cool water of the canal because it was so hot. And
I was just telling my wife I wanted a snack. I got caught. I can't hear. Oh, I can't hear you guys. Pop me out. Pop me back in. I'm sorry, bud.
Okay.
Get in that water.
Oh, no. He was like, wow, you guys are really brave sitting out there in that canal like that. They're like, oh, don't worry, it's not that deep. And he's like, I ain't talking about how deep it was. I was talking about the big alligator that we just saw going through here this morning. They're like, because you've never seen two fat men run so fast in your life.
Yeah, and I remember getting hurt one time. I twisted my ankle down there really bad. And he walked over and he's like, I was wearing sneakers back then. You remember the old high top sneakers where you were cool, man. You didn't tie them up. And he's like, well, it's your own fault, blah, blah. And he's like, I said it hurt. I said it hurts really bad. He goes, yeah. He goes, well, pain's good. Lets you know you're still alive. He said, you know where camp's at, so we'll see you when you make it. And he goes, looks at his watch and he's like, I'd recommend you be there before dark being injured. And he took off.
You know why he told you to get to the camp before dark, right? So you don't get ate.
Yeah.
He probably knew that there's things out there that would eat you if you're out there injured after dark.
Right.
So he probably knew.
Yeah.
He probably just told you that because if you would have known there was creatures out there that would eat you, you would have probably panicked at that age. Or you may have panicked.
I think we're good.
Are we good?
I can hear you. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Hear you good. Loud and clear.
We fixed it. So, all right. Good stuff.
Did you get your snack?
Yes. So my daughter brought me. What are these called, sweetheart? What are these? These are Yasso frozen Greek yogurts.
Oh,
So I got that. I've got water because you got to have podcast snacks. You can't not
yeah.
have podcast stuff. You got to have the Waterloo, and like I said, only the most quality content. By the way, guys, we got chocolate chip cookies. Got to have chocolate chip.
Oh.
cookies.
yeah.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
they homemade chocolate chip
Of
cookies?
course. Well,
Oh, okay.
Pillsbury. Yeah. Pillsbury, but they're awesome. My mother, I say my mother, but my wife, she tries to do like too much with chocolate chip cookies though. She tried to make the monster one. What do they call the monster ones? Tried to make the monster ones where they have like extra peanut. No, just give me classic chocolate chip. Don't screw up perfection.
I
Like
agree.
I'm a chocolate chip.
I like chocolate chip,
I'm grateful. She
but
said
I
taking graph.
really
She said,
snickerdoodles.
you like singles? They're good.
Oh man,
She said I'm taking applications for grateful husbands. I'm like I'm grateful. Like I love chocolate. I love it. Nah, she's awesome.
Best chocolate chip cookie you ever had, huh?
Dude, she makes some. She knows I like the chocolate chip cookies. She knows. So, all right. So the Truth Denied, chapter 6 and 7, and I kind of had to go back because I'm really still I'm working now on chapter 8 and all that, but chapter 6, going back, the NDAs and naysayers, and a lot of people will not. It sounds trivial because it's like, why do we have to go over non-disclosure agreements? Why in the world do we have to go over this? You have to go over it to understand why for like years no one said anything, and why they really tried to do this the right way, and because they let themselves open to so many verbal attacks and naysayers and all that. So that's why we have to do this. If you guys did, if the audience didn't know,
Or somebody comes out, you're in the middle of an investigation or in the middle of a spirited debate between everybody. You don't want that to leak out before you're able to come to a conclusion, because that can run your end results and cause people to have negative feelings toward it before you ever get to actually examine it or look at it.
Exactly. So the thing with these, let's start with real quick with chapter 6, the NDAs and naysayers. So, like Dad said, the early progression of this study, they were having so much data coming in. They got so many samples, so much things happening, where it was like, it was almost overwhelming. It was like, oh my gosh, we've got so much scientific evidence. And it became to the point where it's like, we can't have this one person that might disagree with one thing or do this or go off and say this. So the NDA is really there to protect everybody involved. So that is why, Dad said that. I want to read this out loud. It's important for the reader to understand that from my perspective, the Sasquatch genome study consisted of several independent groups, because it did. It is also Dad's understanding that these groups agreed to work together for a common goal. In each of these groups, there were strong, independent, driven personalities. We all understand that in the cryptid community. There's a lot of strong, independent, driven personalities that don't get along. And that's a part. We're in the paranormal world because we don't all agree, or we don't buy what we're told all the time. Like that I mean, that's all why we're here, right?
Right. Pretty much.
I mean, yeah, we was like, you're not
being lied to about reality of the real world that we live in, and we're trying to figure this.
Randy.
We're here together, sharing information and data to get real answers instead of being lied to and told that these things don't exist. When I know werewolves exist because I've seen them too many times.
Yeah, exactly. And Dad said it's not a criticism, just an acknowledgement that this is the type of individuals needed to engage in this study and whatnot. But a frequent criticism about the study would be like, quote, they're only in it for the fame and the money. The group was definitely, according to Dad, the group was definitely aware of that sentiment is, hey, they're only in this for the money. Excuse me, and no notoriety. Go ahead, buddy.
And like what you're saying, I mean, they're there for the money, and they also, nobody wants to be wrong. And a lot of people would rather push a narrative that they know is not true to just be right than to be open to something that is right.
That's exactly right. Because and we'll get into this in this chapter 7, is we're getting into the why, and why a lot of these groups kind of form or coalesce. It's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and while I may not be this, like we both have to take out this person because they are going to bust our cash cow. And it really came down to a ton of money and scientific religious dogma. It is what it came down to, is why a lot of this stuff happened. But a lot of people at the very beginning were like, oh, they're just in it for the money and the the monetary and notoriety. Lord, I cannot talk. Being the first people to scientifically prove that Bigfoot exists. But Dad talks about this cost a ton of money, and this was completely self-funded. Erickson and Harrison provided the majority of the funding for the outside testing, and we're talking about in 2011-12. It was a lot of money to do the scientific the DNA studies, the DNA in 2011-12. Like, it was a lot of money, like $4,000 to $5,000 per test. That was self-funded. This wasn't a Scholastica study. This wasn't put on by the Discovery or History Channel. These are people in the field that put up their own money to do this.
Well, it's almost like your dad and the team that was doing that was bringing out the truth, and it's almost like the other people felt like their reputations were on the line.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what happened. Here's Dad's submitter's DNA, his NDA that he signed, and this is so people understand that my dad was also under an NDA during the study, and his was he could not divulge any information about the study to include the results of Dad's samples, the progress of the study, and the results of the other submitters. And that's, again, from the NDA, not the peer review process that we'll get into later on. Dad could only talk about the results after the study had been published in a journal or made public by the Sasquatch Genome Project in some form. Dad's samples would not be returned. So nobody's samples or submittals that they put in were returned to them. They were all kept by the study. The disposition of the samples I submitted would be decided by the Sasquatch Genome Study, and I would receive recognition as a submitter in the published manuscript, which Dad was. So the Dad talked about the NDA was also like constantly harped on by the critics. But like he said, confidentiality is a must when one plans to submit a paper for peer review. So these guys, a lot of, not to just jump around, but they could have written a white paper and just given it to the Bigfoot cryptid community, but they wanted to do it the right way. They wanted to scientifically prove, and they did, that Bigfoot or Sasquatch exist. The wild part is they not only proved that it exists, but they proved that it was a human hybrid mixed with who knows what, I believe, angelic Nephilim, half-breed Nephilim DNA. It was mixed with that, and that's what people could not grasp. And it's not necessarily, I don't think necessarily the Sasquatch DNA. They would be okay with that, but the problem was that it was, number one, human or half human, and the second was a human hybrid of something that we have no clue, that shouldn't exist. That was the major we can't do this. We cannot. We as a scientific community are not ready for this.
And
Well,
if
I
you're
know the
saying,
first.
oh,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
I was just gonna say, I know the first time that I had heard about the DNA and what had come back, it took a while. It was hard to swallow. It's not something. I mean, the first time anybody hears that, it's not something you want to acknowledge or accept or believe. It's difficult, but the
Absolutely.
data is there.
Yeah, the data is there, and it's it's over. Like when we finally get into the like which sample did this, which sample did that, it was taken from this. You guys are just going to be blown away. But it it's just one of those things. It's like there's so much overwhelming evidence that it's like it is absolutely just like Dad put. The truth is just denied,
Mhm.
I think
So.
I think a lot of what your dad probably fought too would be whenever you start talking about, angelic beings, you got where that's proven the Bible true, and then you're also some of your opposition is going to be your agnostic and your the people that don't believe in God don't want to accept that theory because they don't believe that other half, so therefore they want to go Guy Janopithecus and go the scientific route.
Yep.
And that's where we get into the trouble, though, I think, is as an investigator, we're taught to clear your mind, not push for a certain outcome, but to follow the evidence. That's how you find the truth. Because if you start putting your own feelings into it, then you're going to taint the evidence and you're going to end up making the outcome what you want it to be rather than what it is.
Right.
Mhm.
That's exactly right. You'll push to where you want to go, and you don't, and you really have to just be open, like you said. It's like, what is the evidence telling me, not what I want it to say. Um, let's get into that's a little bit about chapter 6, that NDAs and naysayers and whatnot. Now let's push into the like-minded conspiracy, and let's really hammer this home. And this is going to be me reading a lot and paraphrasing and whatnot, but I really want your audience to understand what happened and why, and the really big why. So Dad says between November 2010 and September of 2011, DNA was pouring in and screening and cataloged and all that. And everybody's doing interviews. The and basically with these interviews, with the goal of a peer review paper being submitted, Dad said only a limited amount of things could be divulged. During this period, there was a really main guy in his Substad and he was very, very upset with things going on. Substad divulged information he had obtained during the early days of the study. Substad created a blog, posted his findings from the initial 4 samples. Among the information he divulged was the preliminary finding that Bigfoot or Sasquatch was a human hybrid. So he did release that. This revelation would send shockwaves through the Bigfoot research community. It would also catch the attention of the mainstream scientific community. The Bigfoot research community is a diverse group. We all know this. It's so diverse. It consists of many factors. At all times, at least 2 factors disagree over some facet of research, okay? These disagreements can get extremely ugly, as we all know. We have unfortunately all been a part of the ugly disagreements that can happen. Wild accusations being flung in every direction. Many times threats of violence were common, with the occasional threat of legal action. And unfortunately, there's no one sitting in this chat that has not been immune to those. And this is a book written years and years and years and years ago. So unfortunately, nothing new in this community. Anyway, it would be very accurate to say that this community agrees on very little, with each faction having its own pet beliefs and theories. I heard Jesse laugh at that. We don't agree on much here. So
No. We do
So
agree on that, though.
yeah, we do agree that we don't agree. But I thought so. One of the major divisions in the Bigfoot research community that existed before Substad's leak, okay, was the human or the excuse me, one of the major divisions in the research community that existed before Substad's human hybrid leak was the human versus bipedal ape camps. So this was a big deal before the study, okay? The divisions was brought to the forefront by David Pilates' two books, okay? So if anybody doesn't know who Missing 411 David Pilates, he's one of the goats. He befriended my dad. He's great. He's phenomenal. He's got that Can-Am Missing 411. He is a hardcore investigator guy, a little bit harder to make friends with, but you have to understand he has been through the crap with this community. It's not that he doesn't like you. He's just been through it. You know what I mean? So I want everybody to understand that. He wrote two books, The Hoopa Project and The Tribal Bigfoot, okay? These two books really caused a lot of ruckus. David used renowned criminal sketch artist Harvey Pratt, who has done some art for Dad. Harvey Pratt drew eyewitness sketches of the Bigfoot. The problem was everyone expected them to look ape-like, okay? And that was just not what they witnessed or not what they described. Instead, each sketch revealed human-like facial features. Most of the sketches favored the Native American heritage with an exaggerated brow, wide, thin mouth, and flat, wide nose. These human-looking sketches caused a major uproar in the Bigfoot community. The old guard had claimed for years, guys. So you have an old guard of the Bigfoot folks, okay? And you have to understand that this Bigfoot community is old. Like it's not a new thing. You've got people that have their stance, and by gosh, it's this, and they have their camps. And if you impede in their camp, no can do. They've got their pet, their pet things. But the old guard, had claimed for years that Bigfoot was an unknown bipedal ape, and everybody thought that, no big deal. But the witness sketches showed the exact opposite. So immediately the rift formed, and then soon sides were being chosen, the human versus bipedal ape, all that stuff. Dad thinks that this division was the catalyst for what he calls a like-minded conspiracy, where he's like, there's not a secret smoke-filled room or anything like that. However, a cooperative effort between these groups that are usually at odds with one another. Each group have different motives. However, the goal is the same, okay? To discredit and to suppress the Sasquatch Genome Project by any means. Because the bipedal ape versus human hybrid, that is their thing. We can't allow it to be a human hybrid. So Dad has the breakdown of the groups involved, and we'll do that here in just a second. We'll take a pause and kind of see where we're feeling there.
Well, I mean,
I can't hear you.
Is it not any sound now?
I can. Nope. Now I can't hear you. I can hear.
Matt, you can hear?
If you can hear me, I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourselves.
One thing you might want to, which would prove why does the state of Oklahoma have a law to protect Bigfoot from hunters shooting them if they don't exist? I think that should be a real question. Would they waste time and money on something that didn't exist to pass a law? No, they would not.
And then Oklahoma came out and offered now $1 million for the body of a Sasquatch.
Ooh.
You're
not. I guarantee it. If the body of one, you're not going to live to collect.
No.
You will.
No.
Something mysterious would happen to you before they got there to pay you that $1 million. I'd almost bet on that.
Although it might be a chance worth taking.
Yeah, but I guarantee you that $1 million bounty might be for your head for killing one.
Yeah.
Ra-
What are they going to do if you're the one that killed Bigfoot?
Yeah.
The
Randy,
law just said,
with Justin Smage, or I can't ever say his name right, but with Justin, um, that dude figured out real quick what he did, and then he started retract. That story started changing quick. We went over that with the Sierra Kills a few weeks
Mhm.
ago.
Yeah.
So, but
the powers that be are not going to allow you to have proof.
Right.
I think the closest you got with that DNA, that's about as close as you're going to be allowed to get before some other entity takes action to silence you. I
yeah,
think you're something. I wonder about your dad's timing of his death, and I find it suspicious, and that's all I'm going to say.
I completely understand, man. I completely understand. I try to look at it like this: is all things work together for good. I think maybe God allowed it to maybe me get off my butt and do something for him. I know that sounds crazy, but I truly do believe it. So because I wouldn't be on the show, I wouldn't be doing any of this, I wouldn't be getting deeper into the word if that hadn't happened. I know that sounds crazy, but that's just me being real with y'all.
There's nothing
Uh,
crazy about that, Travis. At least I don't see nothing crazy with what you said, sir.
I heard that. All right, so let's get into these groups, okay? The first one Dad really talks about is the bipedal ape believers group, okay? So these people were emotionally invested that Bigfoot was the bipedal ape. Okay, Bigfoot's no big deal. He's just a bipedal ape in the forest. He's just an unknown creature. It was a part of their worldview. This group suffered what is called cognitive dissonance. We all like to talk about it. It is true. And they suffered from it. They could not intellectually acknowledge nor accept that Bigfoot was a human hybrid. Any evidence that substantiate this had to be destroyed. And I think we all have met that person where it's like 2 + 2 = 4, and they just can't believe it. You know what I mean?
well,
Yeah.
even if it was a big gorilla or Gigantopithecus or something like that, if it were that, we would have one in captivity and in zoos now. They would be caught,
Absolutely.
captured, and they would be in zoos. And then, which leads you to the next theory. What's the next theory? They have to
Yeah.
have a higher intelligence.
That's exactly right. That's the thing that they can't. So
Hmm.
the next come is the bipedal ape financial group, because there's
Yeah,
always it's always about money. This
that's yeah.
group was this group is financially invested in Bigfoot being a bipedal ape. Okay, I'll follow the money. This
Yep.
group could also be classified as the professional reputation group. Okay, the people in this group had built their careers around the assertions that Bigfoot was a bipedal ape. Books, movies, TV shows, blogs, and lucrative speaking fees, which I would like to understand where those come from. I have had none yet. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You will
Um,
one day.
nah,
They
brother.
One
I
day they
don't.
will.
No, sir. I ain't gonna take no money for it. No. Here's the deal. How do I put this? I don't know how to put it just yet, but I don't believe so. It, if so, it's God's will, but not mine. How's that? How's that? But I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
I believe that God's going to bless you through this because what we're doing is we're getting out the truth.
I
We're
I
literally
think
shining
so.
a light into the darkness because this is a dark field that we're all in.
I
Oh
There's
agree.
yeah.
Yes, it is a dark field, and the mention of the Lord and the mention of Jesus in the Bible and it being a biblical narrative is not talked about. You'll look at paranormal stuff like ghost hunters and all that. Like the Lord is not talked about, and it really needs to. So thank you guys for giving me a flashlight and helping me shine the light. So thank you guys. Um, but getting back into this is like this bipedal ape financial group. they consisted mostly of the old guard, okay? So mostly of guys who'd been in it for a while, the Bigfoot researchers who had built their credibility and reputations on the Bigfoot being a bipedal ape. This group consisted also of high-profile scientists, okay? Many of whom were making a good living off of the books and speaking fees and all this. However, here's the problem with when you start making that money. Okay. The truth was not a concern for this group. Let me repeat that. The truth was not a concern for this group. The protection of their income source, to include protecting professional reputations, was plenty motive to just absolutely destroy the Sasquatch genome study. What do y'all gonna think about that?
Absolutely. I mean, you have, a market out there. You got your credibility on the line, and you've already convinced people and went to, all these places and told people this is what it is. And then all of a sudden somebody comes out with proof that's not it. Then if you agree to that, then you just lost your whole line of merchandise and credibility, and you're bankrupt the next day.
Yeah, absolutely. So you do have to see you do have to see a little bit and feel for them, but at the same time, it's like you have to question their motives. It's like, hey, is this a financial thing, or are you really looking for the truth? And
Right.
it was financial.
And Cluff has a good question for you, I think. Here, I grabbed it real quick. I thought that was a good one there. So the question is it paranormal?
Because it's so hard to find them. What if they are burrowers and they live underground? It's the fact people have trouble getting a sighting. That's a great question, and that is definitely something that Dad struggled with at the very beginning. There's a video where he's like, "He was right here. It was right here. I can smell it." Like trying to figure out that. And I do believe it is paranormal, Cliff. And the reason why is the DNA evidence shows that the mitochondrial DNA, and we'll get into this, the mitochondrial DNA of the mother is human, and the father in the nuclear DNA is unknown. When I mean unknown, it was run through GenBank. Basically, it was scientifically found that they couldn't find it. And it was scientifically that it shouldn't exist. It had like single strand, double strand DNA. It didn't have genetic markers of anything human. Like it shouldn't have gestated, but yet we had this blood and hair from a creature that it is alive. So you have DNA evidence that it is paranormal or outside of what we know is normal. And then the other thing is man, there's just been so much anecdotal evidence to the fact that these things just have powers and abilities that we just cannot understand and express. And that's happened to multiple people. That's happened to multiple people on this podcast. That's happened to my dad. And there's just too much of that to ignore. But would it be easier for them to be just a physical manifestation, just physical beings? Heck yeah, it would be. Absolutely. But unfortunately, I don't believe it's the case, and neither does the DNA evidence point to that.
One person, D.A. Roberts, he had mentioned, they think that there's a possibility that they may have what they call adaptive camouflage. And it may come down from the angelic side. I don't know if he believes that. I know he believes in the adaptive camouflage. But if it was to come down from the angelic side, it makes you wonder, what are they capable of doing on that spectrum? And I got a question for you.
Yeah.
But do you think they're unalivable?
Yes, I do think they're unalivable. Absolutely. I do think that Justin let unalived one, and especially especially when it talks about the juvenile, because in the story the god is there, and like that's the last, and absolutely like him kind of screaming at him, and then all that. I do think you can, and that's why. Okay, Travis is going to get off into left field, so here we go. That's why I do believe that these bloodlines that we talk about, like the Rothschilds and all these people and all that, they don't want you to have the pew-pews, because they can get unalived by pew pews, and those still matter. So I think that I think they're very. If you'll notice, the really really elites are so anti pew pew because I do believe they are part of that mixed species, not necessarily to the level that that we see with Bigfoot or Dogman or whatnot. I think that's Travis is going to get into his theories. I think that those guys are actually chimeras or holding or even super soldier esque things. But that's just my realm. That's my
I'm glad you went there because I had a theory I was thinking about the other night, and I was thinking, you hear all this talk about Bigfoot, Sasquatch, Yeti, and everybody kind of they kind of push that is the main cryptid out there. But I'm starting to wonder, and I don't know, it's just kind of a theory just by the research and reading and pushing and biblical reading, the Bible back whenever, Eve was deceived by the serpent. Well, we know that snakes scientifically had legs. They actually still have the stubs. So back then, we know that if these tree trunks and everything that we're finding, these huge to us are mountains, if these were in fact what they say they are, and the giants were as big as they said they were,
Yep.
and these lizard people were walking with legs back then, and they weren't on their bellies eating dust the rest of their life, is the lizard people, are they actually the closest to these cryptid bloodline?
I can absolutely believe that. Absolutely. And people will laugh when we start talking about lizard people. It's like, dude, these entities have been talked about for years and years and years, and changelings and all that stuff. And I mean,
time.
Absolutely. I think that when we talk about Bigfoot and Dogman and lizard people, we are all talking about a spectrum of creatures that are mixed with whatever mixture or whatever genetic manipulation that the enemy is doing and messing with things. Because we know, according to the Book of Enoch, which I believe is just a big explanation of Genesis chapter 6, is Genesis chapter 6 on steroids, that you have the spirits of these entities that can't go anywhere. So maybe Bigfoot, maybe Dogman is just an avatar, like the movie, like Hollywood tells us, and it's just a body for these spirits to go into. Just a thought. I don't know. I can't give you a good answer. This is Travis's, Travis's ramblings.
It makes sense, and then it also makes you wonder, if they are in fact the lizards, are the purest of the cryptids, if you will, which I think they're kind of like the Eliads anyways. I think they're the descendant of the Nephilim, of the mixed bloodlines like we talked about. But I think that what's interesting to me is if they are a lizard, lizards can do two pretty scary things. They can change colors and adapt to their environment. And a lot of people talk about, why do we see them around radioactive energy plants, and why do we see them on roadways? Why do we see snakes there? Because they can't control their internal heat. Are they seeking that to control their body temperature?
Definitely. Definitely could be. I think they can definitely do that. And the thing about Nephilim and angels and whatnot, we know angels can change their appearance. We know this. Angels are changeling. They can do that, and they masquerade. Depending on how much angelic DNA and how much Nephilim DNA this human hybrid has, how can it change? Can it change shapes? Can it change forms? Can it be a changeling that we've all heard about in fantasy realms and talked about? It's funny. I'm starting to believe the fantasy realm is more the history realm rather than it is fantasy realm.
I am too, because now you got me. I'm playing deep left field now because whenever you say that, now I start thinking about at Granny's house, right? What if all them years, and this goes back to where I'm willing to be wrong about what we thought. What if all them years, whenever I was growing up down there, and Granny and them said, okay, we got a Bigfoot outside. They always knew that. And then they would say, we got the other thing out there, the werewolf. And then, they had the thing they said that flew. And then they would see it looked like a bald headed man. What if all those were the same thing, just different forms?
Could
It was
definitely
able,
could be. We just don't know. This is unfortunately just speculation. We just don't know. But I do think it's worth thinking about.
That's scary as
Here's
hell.
food for thought. I do have some food for thought. Now, I've never seen a Bigfoot, but I have seen a werewolf multiple times. Now, if just one legendary creature exists, don't they all?
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. It's like I'm like I think they all do, and I'm just Travis's thought. But anyway, all right, let's get into the next one. Okay, so we've got the this is a big one too, by the way. So we also have to remember this. Now, I was watching. Oh God, I keep getting left field. I was watching History Channel's Ancient Aliens, and by the way, that's one of the best shows there is. They do such a great job. They really, but the thing is they're going to tell you what is actually happening without telling you. So it's such a good show. But the next one is the Protect the Theory of Evolution group. Okay, this is a major group in science right now. Okay, you guys don't understand. I say you guys, but I don't think the average person understands the level of science that goes just to nod, or people will lose their jobs over the protection of the theory of evolution. This group consisted of largely mainstream scientists, scientific publications, and blogs. So we're talking about the pillars of science, okay? The theory of evolution is in its final days. You guys, the readers, your audience has to understand that. Advances in microbiology, along with other specific disciplines, are dismantling the theory of evolution, and they literally did it on national television. They really dismantled the theory of evolution on the History Channel. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're doing this. They really did. Scientists know this, but this is all they really have to battle with the intelligent design movement. Now, the renowned neo-Darwinist Richard Dawkins. Does everybody know who Richard Dawkins is? Has everybody heard of him?
Yeah.
He is a big evolutionist.
Oh yeah.
He hates God. Let me make that very clear. He hates God.
Yep.
He actually admitted on camera in the special Expelled. It's a TV show and this is what he said. He said, quote, "I suppose it's possible that you might even find evidence for that if you look at the details of biochemistry, of molecular biology. You might find a signature of some sort of designer. And that designer could well be a higher intelligence from elsewhere in the universe." In other words, human life was seeded on this planet, and our genome design was by extraterrestrial entities. This new theory is now gaining acceptance, like it was the other night on the History Channel. Like they were talking about this theory. It's called panspermia. Okay, so until this new theory is accepted universally, the theory of evolution has to be protected at all cost. A study providing scientific proof that Bigfoot was a human hybrid could be one of the final nails in the coffin of evolution. Again, since we're talking about 10 years ago, it's since it wasn't acceptable, basically they were also in it. They had to destroy the Sasquatch genome study at all cost. Have you guys heard about this theory of panspermia and everything going on there?
Yeah, I've heard a little bit about that. Yeah. And then, they talk about evolution. My science teacher used to say, if there was evolution and it was true, then we wouldn't have monkeys. They would still be evolving.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. On the History Channel the other night, they were talking about it, and the guy with the big wild hair and all that stuff.
Yeah.
They did a really good job of talking about how apes and humans, there's really no jump. Like that whole thing is bullcrap. The level of intelligence between a human and an ape, they cannot understand or describe how that happened in an evolutionary process. How we went from using our brains the way we do, knowing we exist, knowing the cognitive things, functioning words, by the way, like our voice boxes. There's no evolutionary leap for a voice box. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's just one of those things where evolution is on its last leg, and it's out. And you guys will see this. Like when it will be wildly accepted that we were seeded by aliens. Like it's like everybody knows, the UAPs now are coming out, and the non-human biologics, and no one bats an eye. Have you noticed that? And everyone's like, oh yeah, no big deal.
You're not talking about them anal knockies, are you?
That's right. That's what they say.
And Planet X, I've been listening to some of that. They actually, if you listen to these people, I'm like, how do you all even believe that? Because, I mean, it blows me away how they can even spend money on that, how our government can fund projects to say, if we can drop a thing that goes boom and something the size of a refrigerator at Mach 2, but we don't know if something's behind the sun that's larger than our planet. Come on,
yeah.
Well,
exactly.
I can remember back in the 1980s, the news went crazy for weeks. They were talking about they found Planet X, and sometime around 2025, it's going to be affecting the weather on planet Earth.
Yeah.
And suddenly, all that stuff was blacked out. But I remember them telling us on national news back in the 1980s about Planet X and that scientists discovered it. And then suddenly all that information went away.
Right, exactly. What were you saying, Jess?
I was just thinking, and look at the weather that we're strangely having in 2025.
Oh my goodness, of course.
But
yeah.
I remember actually reading stuff on the like, I don't think it was actually coined as panspermia at the time, but it was probably in 2012. I remember reading articles on it, and that was something that was being really pushed hard. So
it's definitely, I'm a huge movie guy, especially like the science fiction guy. And I believe that they really try to tell us in movies what they're going to push or what the truth is. And remember, the movies, the Aliens movies, what was it? Prometheus, and whatnot. That preached panspermia to the nth degree,
Mm-hmm. Well, and then if you think about it too, like what Mike was saying, why would they invest money into doing different research? There's always that theory too of the Blue Beam Project and what that all entails. That would go right along with pushing the agenda of panspermia. So.
Absolutely. Clough has a great point. Our government does spend money on stupid stuff.
What about all these people building bunkers all of a sudden? Like they know something is coming that we don't know about.
That's exactly right, man. Who knows? Who knows?
Don't the Bible say at the end of times that people will be hiding under rocks and mountains?
Yeah, they will. They'll be hiding under rocks and mountains and hiding from the cliffs and hiding. Who knows, man? But also at the same time, so oh gosh, I'm getting way in left field. Like, who knows what's going to happen in this next coming thing with God? We gotta have a political show soon. So anyway, I gotta stay on topic. I have to stay on topic because I will ADD the crap out of this.
I will too.
All right.
You better have that one with that topic on YouTube. We probably better do it private video or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
dude, that would actually be super good. We got to do like what is it?
Oh, Patreon?
Patreon.
Yes, we need to do a Patreon on what's going on, and like have a political talk.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
YouTube would take that down in 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
that's even talking about it.
Exactly. Yes. The next group we want to talk about is the financially invested in Bigfoot remaining undiscovered group. This is actually a really bigger group that Dad doesn't talk about enough. Again, financials. You know, there's so many TV shows, so many excursions, authors, and bloggers. If the Bigfoot mystery is solved, proven to be a human hybrid, the mystique's done, guys. Like it's over. It's like, hey, we got it. Here's evidence. Here's what they are. Cool beans. Next, type of thing. So there's a little bit about that. Now, this next group, people really are like, what are you talking about, Scott? What are you talking about, Travis? What are you talking about, Tcarp? When we talk about this one, federal and local governments is a group that really don't want to talk about this. Have you guys, before I get into this, have you guys seen that or felt that or even heard of a federal and local government suppressing knowledge of, paranormal, extraterrestrials, Bigfoot, anything like that?
Absolutely. I've investigated cases that have done that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. So Dad talks about this. He says the state and federal parks generate hundreds of millions of dollars, money, along with providing thousands of jobs of areas adjacent to the parks. The proven existence of Bigfoot or Sasquatch could definitely cause a reduction in visitors. I'd say so. Our research has shown the National Park Service has been aware of the existence of Bigfoot or Sasquatch since at least the late 1940s. Let me read that again. Our research has shown that the National Park Service has been aware of the existence of Bigfoot or Sasquatch since at least the 1940s. How does that sit with you guys?
It's frustrating.
I would have another, I would say that if they're telling us they've known about it since the 1940s, they've known about it way before then. Something happened, I think, that made them have to at least recognize the possibility, as they like to put it. But every time you talk to a warden, they will tell you, there's no mythical monsters running around down here. But then they'll tell you in the same breath, though, they'll say, but I'm sure there's other things left to still be discovered.
Yeah, exactly. They know. That exactly. Dad says they have an unwritten rule that any Bigfoot report is politely taken and then just thrown in the trash, just disposed of immediately. The motive mentioned above is the biggest thing, the loss of revenue, along with the possible effect on the local community surrounding the parks. Dad also talks about, the Yahoo Gmail accounts being hacked.
Yeah.
Again, just weird things happening. You guys have probably noticed like the page shill activity, shortly before continuing, like you'll have YouTube things and Facebook commenters would immediately show up posting the exact same negative like the exact same things, people showing up in DM, just weird stuff like that. So,
Mhm.
that's definitely happened with a lot of things. Opposition groups getting into Dr. Ketchum's background, all that. Just a lot of things just about that. And that's really the big couple ones, the big groups that were, like Dad said, the like-minded conspiracies, which were, again, just to go over, the Bipedal Ape Believers group, the Bipedal Ape Financial group, Protect the Evolutionary Theory group, financially invested in Bigfoot remaining undiscovered, and your federal and local governments. These folks do not want the truth getting out. Okay? Because the truth getting out at the end of the day hurts their bottom line and hurts their dogmatic religion of evolution. That is the truth.
And you know what's sad too is if they want to, if they want to keep the narrative running the way that they want the narrative, all they have to do is create X amount of groups, push the same lie. And unfortunately, in this community, people do not do their own research. They
Nope.
just believe the creator, and it makes it
Mhm.
very, very easy to push a false narrative and to control the narrative.
For so long. For absolutely so long. Let's take some questions from the commenters and stuff like that. I want to see what kind of how they're feeling and what their they've been here hanging out with us.
All righty. Jesse, you will have to call some out. For some reason, we got to talking about that, and my
Yeah.
comments over here, they froze. So I'm waiting on it to
Please
update.
put please for Jesse, please put your question in all caps and leave it to like a sentence. That helps us so much. But you guys that have been here for an hour and a half hanging out with us, like I want to hear from you guys.
Well, I know OCST says our government has known about them since we pilgrimaged the continent.
I do think that. I definitely do think that. And I don't believe the official narrative of what we've been told about history. I do not believe that I do believe that Lewis and Clark found some wild technologically advanced things. I do believe in the Tartarian stuff that there was just I don't believe that they went over to California and just in 20 30 years just had this amazing city. I think there was a lot of technology that happened and a lot of history is suppressed. I don't know to what degree, but I definitely believe that.
200 angels fell, and there's approximately 200 craters on the earth.
How about it?
Well, what was it, like 190 something? But I mean, what, 10 shy? I'm sure there's 10 lingering out there somewhere.
Oh,
nothing to see here. Just keep moving on.
Yeah,
nothing to see.
Yeah. Well, actually, NASA came out. I was reading the other day. I read a lot of NASA stuff, and they were talking about going back to the moon for exploration because they haven't been there. Oh yeah. They ain't never been out. And then they brought up that their new satellite has now detected that there is 200 craters on Earth.
Oh, interesting.
So 200 craters, and the first thing I thought was, you got 200 fallen angels. But here's the thing though, there's one crater out of the 200 that still burns to this day.
Interesting.
Don't they call that like the Devil's Hole or something like that too?
They called it the Devil's Hole. One guy wanted to name it the Hole of Light, and the first thing I thought was Light Bearer.
Maybe. I know that in the Illuminati circle, in the occultic circle, they always say, "As it is above, so below." I do believe that there's still whatever is happening is there either trapped or something's going on underneath the earth. Okay, that's a big deal to them, and they feel like they have to do something up here to make the energy. I don't know, but that's a good point of like that's still burning. Something happened, so they might still be. Who knows?
Entertainment purposes only.
Yes, entertainment purposes only. This is complete and utter bullcrap.
Yeah, this is a satire channel.
Right. Wink, wink.
Yeah. But
so
it's weird.
Tyler wanted to know if Scott believed in crawlers. But I think that kind of did he ever come across anything like that?
Yeah, the ones that crawl. Yeah. Oh, dude. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There was ones that me and him went on a few. We would go on a few hikes, and what made me mad is Dad could see these daggum things and I couldn't. And like he would be, but he had that I swear to you, he had that sixth sense. He's like, "There's one there, and there," and I'm like, "What are you talking about, Dad? I don't see jack crap." And he's like, you can't hear that or feel it? No, I can't." But I swear I had prayed them away. And to be honest with you, I do think the Lord has put a major hedge of protection over me when it comes to them, that I'm not going to experience this. And thank Jesus for that, that I can still give you the truth and I don't have to go through the trauma of what people have gone through that have experienced and seen these things. Like, I don't have to do that. And yet I have this gold mine of evidence, if that makes sense.
Well, and your father didn't. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. We have just a slight delay.
I was just going to say, and your father didn't want you going and digging into it too. So it's very possible he also prayed that hedge of protection over you.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely. I know there's tons of people that have
Mm-hmm.
but the wild thing is like, I've seen the footprints. I've seen them mess with rocks. I've seen them, like, I told you guys I believe I got yelled at, but at that point it's like, it's like, I know you're there. I can't point you out exactly like Dad could, because Dad could I swear it's that two-way connection that they had. I don't know what it was, but like, he would walk into the woods, he's like, "There's one right there." And I'm like, "What do you, like, how do you even know that?" But it was that I do believe whatever happened between him and them, it was that line of communication goes both ways, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I noticed in some of your dad's videos when he first started going out, and as he went out, he started getting a heightened awareness, and I could sense the longer he was going out, the more your dad was more, I wouldn't say afraid, he was entombed. He knew that they were there, and he knew that they were not there to be his friend. And you could tell, you could see it and hear it in his actions and everything.
Absolutely. He definitely was like, these things are not just bipedal apes. They're messing with them. They're not telling them the truth. And he began to not trust them pretty quickly after especially after the genome study, but pretty dang quickly, that 2011-12, because he started in 2008. So he has that 2009, 2010, 2011 really studying. And then that 2012, it's like, no, these things are not what, and it just really came into that, like, realization and very stoic sense. And then it became a battle cry of, don't trust these things. And I'll be honest with you, that was not popular at all, and was not popularized until Steve Ishtal of How to Hunt really got on and kind of got in Dad's rear end. And we all, whatever you believe about Steve Ishtal, the dude got in Dad's rear end and got him motivated again. Just being real with you.
I like Steve Ishtal. I've always watched him. I think he has good content, and I believe he's truthful.
I think he speaks with his mind. I think he believes what he says, and do I agree with everything he says? Heck no, absolutely not. But do I believe that, and a lot of people don't necessarily like him, but I can never repay him for what he's done for Dad, what he's done for me, in just talking about Dad. So I can't repay the guy.
Yeah, I think that if you have, go ahead, Randy.
Go ahead. I have a question for you, Travis. Did your dad ever notice multiple Bigfeet together, moving together without communicating?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So there was several times that he saw He saw two, I believe, that did that. He saw the male, and then I believe he saw a female run across this clearing, this basically pipeline that we have. That's where his research area is there's a cleared out cut pipeline that everybody, it's a big trail that's a horse trail, it's a pipeline, and it's a cutout trail for people to walk all the way down to the end of a whole bunch of fields. And the thing about I hate this trail, by the way, because the thing is it's cut, it's cut for the pipeline, okay, but the sides of it can grow up a little bit, and the daggum foliage, like you've seen hay that hasn't been cut in 6 months. It's about eye level, and it's just right beside you the whole time. So I'm like, if anything wanted to, like, we're walking those trails, like anything can get you, and it scares the poop out of me. So, and of course, Dad was like, "Let's go hunting, son," and I'm like, "Dad, we're going," And so he had mentioned, and of course he'd always tell me these stories while we were going hunting to scare the crap out of him. It's like, I saw a Bigfoot right there that ran across the road. I was like, Dad, please stop. I just want to hunt deer. So he did see multiples. And the one thing that he said, he's like, I know this sounds crazy. He's like, they run funny. I'm like, what do you mean they run funny? He's like, they run like cartoon characters. I'm like, what? He's like, they run like so fast, like it literally looks like a cartoon. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But he said it's just that paranormal ability they have to just absolutely run insanely fast. And he said that girl, when she ran across there, she was running so fast that it looked cartoonish.
Wow. I've heard that.
I didn't know
I've heard that description.
Say it again.
Sorry.
Jess?
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I heard that description before, like just the cartoonish look, and not just of Sasquatch, but of other beings, that cartoonish look in them. Mm-hmm.
Where it's like they're moving too quick. Something's going on here.
Yep.
Norma's got a pretty good question.
Of my observing werewolves, of my encounters, I've had hundreds of encounters with werewolves. On some of the times I've walked upon my horse and they were sleeping around them, they would all wake up at the exact same time and look at me at the exact same time.
That's weird.
How they could do that, it wasn't natural. It was like there's a higher intelligence in control of them.
Like a hive mind of some sort.
Correct. Like a vampire. There's like something, in control of them. Some kind of greater intelligence.
Maybe. No, okay, I want to read this from Norma. So Norma Napier says, where are the angels that fell from heaven with Lucifer? There are different from the 200, right? That is a good question. That is the major argument. We do know that there were watcher angels that came down on Mount Hermon that made a pact with each other. And their pact was they were going to take women. Help me here, Mike. I can't. There's only certain things I can say. They were going to copulate with women, and they knew that was bad. They knew, but they had taken off their first estate, as it says in the book of Jude, which is canonized scripture, and they created a great sin, and they were put into captivity. Now, it is theorized that they were released from that captivity about 120 years ago due to the fact of the major advancements in technology that we have had in the last 120 years. We're talking 1800s, we're horse and buggy for thousands of years, and then 1800s we go to planes, trains, automobiles, if you believe the narrative of history as we're told. Again, a lot of this is conjecture. But if you believe the narrative of history that we're told, then that would suggest that they were bound in prison for thousands of years, and they were released from their prison to do whatever they needed to do to deceive mankind and prepare the way for what is to come upon the earth, which I think is things that men's hearts will fail them, and just like it says, as in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be.
There was a guy listening the other night, you bring that up. It's pretty interesting. He was talking about Jupiter, Saturn, Earth, Mars, all those. And he's like, those are not planets. For something to be alive, he said, science agrees that it has to have a metabolism. Okay? Planets have metabolisms. And he said, what you're looking at is all of those planets are named after a god. Neptune, all those, right? Saturn. So what those are, he said, are celestial bodies that have been left as they came down like they weren't supposed to. Now, these bodies still have a metabolism. They're still alive, but they're not inhabited by these creatures, which are the
I
fallen
hadn't heard
angels.
this, but this is a good theory, man.
Oh, he says the fallen angels are here, and since they left those things, okay, the pyramids, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pyramids produce energy, which creates a metabolism, which would make them be able to inhabit the pyramids, to be able to take on a form to be worshipped, right? But now that a man that likes the alphabetical number X has designed robots now that have human skin on them, they have become self-aware, some of them, and here's the kicker. These robots now are making their own metabolism within. So what's going to inhabit those?
You know what's going to inhabit those. The disembodied spirits of the Nephilim.
Because
and
they're not
by the
going
way, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, they're not going to come back and take women into themselves this time, because God made it, where the seed doesn't work no more. There's anonymity.
Exactly.
So what are they going to do? They're going to come back, and they're not going to take women. They're going to go into the robots that we have made for them. And what are they doing with these robots? They're boyfriend robots. They can be your mate. They can do all that.
Oh, yeah. Whoa.
Yeah.
By the way, did you notice the new AI for the person who might like the letter X magically got the defense contract today? Did you see that?
Yeah.
I was like, what is happening here?
And he's got a hat now that you can buy for your house, and you can set up this thing in your house. And whenever you look at like your TV or your lights or whatever, and you concentrate, and you can make this ring light up, and you can turn your TV on and turn your lights on just by thinking it while you wear this magical hat.
It's magical, like almost like a magician hat.
Yeah.
Oh my God, dude! I'm telling you, it's being thrown right in our face.
So you mean that actually replaces the implant that he was actually working on for the other?
It might. So at SpiracyCon, we're going to have this lady here that claims to be the nanny of this person, and what she claims is like this, that he did something when he was a kid unspeakable, and she hasn't said it, but he may have went through some ritual or whatnot. And apparently she was told that he is going to basically bring the technology of the mark. Like, that's what she has said. And I mean, even if you don't believe her, it's hard to say that that he's not on that daggone path. You know what I'm saying? And I believe we all can see this point of where, the things that talk about Revelation, where, no one can buy and sell without the mark. And it's going to be in your, your forehead or your hand. Like, we can all see it now. And we can, and everyone was like, why in the world would people take a mark? If I came and said, hey, all you have to do tomorrow is take this shot or put this implant in your brain, you'll never get cancer. You won't get anything. Well, it never happened to you. You won't get sick anymore. And we can actually put enough free radicals or anti-free radical stuff that you actually won't age anymore. We can reverse aging because we can give your cells what they need, and you'll be fine. You'll live forever. What if someone said
Right.
that, people would line up tomorrow to get it?
And if you don't
Well-
take it, we're not going to allow you to buy food for your children, and you can watch them die. They'll
That's right.
starve, or they're not going to have
you
medical
can't,
attention.
because remember you're a, just like with what happened back in 2020, you're causing illness, you're spreading illness, you're spreading these cancers, you're spreading this terrible diseases. How dare you, Mike? You're so selfish.
Oh yeah.
Remember how people were treated just a couple years ago for it. I think we saw we couldn't understand the mentality. We saw it a few years ago, and now the technology is coming online, and I am, God, again, I cannot talk about this on YouTube, but I do not trust anyone in power anymore. Whether it
was a
starts
Oh,
with a D
right
or with
there
an
with
R
you.
anymore. Whether it starts with a D or with an R, I do not trust them anymore.
It was a test run.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And
and
who
think
was it?
about this.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and think about this too. I mean, the fact that what is the best way to control people, and that is going to be with money and food. Look at what's going on with the weather. How is that going to
Yes.
affect our food? And then on top of that, the push for the digital currency. And I mean, they're getting rid of the penny. They're getting rid of currency altogether and pushing for credit
Yes.
cards and charging you if you want to use cash in places. So what's going to happen in the long run? And then you look at some of the places around here, like we get fined if we have garden beds that are visible
That's
in some
crazy to
areas.
me. That is the wildest thing. But I can't believe they're doing it. But
Mhm.
yes, they're doing it. And
Control the
people,
food, the population, and the money.
control food, population, and money, and people will do it. And I think, just like it talks about, I think in Thessalonians, like the guys of this, and when you start, sorry, I totally got off track there, but when you start talking about, controlling the food, the money, like what happens with that? Wars will happen with food and money. And guys, we know, again, entertainment purposes only, we know that we can't exist. Your money cannot exist like it does anymore. Like we can't, like this country cannot spend trillions and trillions of dollars and be trillions and trillions of dollars in debt and just spend money like it doesn't, like it doesn't exist. And at some point that bill's going to come due. I don't know what's going to happen at that point. And I'm to the point where it's like, when that happens, it ain't going to be pretty. And that will cause wars and all this stuff. And then the said being will, just like it says in Thessalonians, it will be peace and security. That will be its a stamp of approval. That will be its rallying cry. You will have peace and security, peace and security, peace and security. And people will line up for whatever mark, whatever system, whatever beast system that is, where they have peace and security.
And they will twist the words and pervert the words to make them exactly what you want, because he is the great deceiver. And
Absolutely.
it's easier to change it to how you want to live than the way he told us to live. And they even said, that guy, with the X, that when he was young, he was able to open a portal in his bedroom.
That's what I've heard too. I've also, like I said, I don't trust that guy, and I don't trust the guy that wears the red hat. I don't trust. Like, I'm going to be honest with you. I voted for the guy with the red hat, but I couldn't vote for the other person. But now I'm like, I don't think I should vote anymore. That's where I'm at with it. I guess I've gone off the loony bin at this point.
I did too. I done the same thing. And
dude, after this, the client list that doesn't exist, like, I'm done. I am done.
It is a scary place right now.
I know. I'm probably absolutely destroying the stream, and the analytics are like, throttle now.
But
The only one we can trust do this really is God and Jesus Christ.
Yes,
He's the only
that's
one that can
exactly
get it.
right.
We should take our eyes off the world and put our eyes on God and Jesus Christ and let them lead us through this darkness, because the darkness is coming. It's about to get very dark in this country and around the world.
That is the absolute truth. And if you don't have friends like you have here, like my internet friends like Mike and Jess, and you too, Randy, I haven't got the chance to talk to you much, but I'm going to start. Like, there's times where, Mike will reach out and I'm like, I'll be stressed out about something and Mike will take care of me. And same with Jess. Like, Jess will do the same thing. And it's funny. It's like the enemy knows how to come for your friends. There is a tactic used in Sears school that's survival, evade, whatnot. And when they're torturing someone, what they'll do to get information or to make you stop, instead of torturing you, they'll torture your friend in front of you. And that's what really will get to you. Because I can handle stuff, man. I can handle pain and all that. But you hurt someone close to me,
yeah.
that screws with me. And I've just seen that done with you guys, and you've seen it done with me, and I'll just leave it at that point. So,
And that
Well,
and that's what the enemy does. He looks for your weakness, and he
well,
yeah, I can't go into it deep.
there's not. I don't want to get into it in this one, but yeah.
Yeah,
But anyway,
but I know what you're saying. I know what
absolutely.
you're saying.
Sorry,
one that I
who
will,
told it? Go ahead, Randy.
after there was a show where I released information. Then after that show, all hell broke loose. I mean, my internet company that I had been with for 21 years went down, and it kept going down, and they couldn't get it fixed, and they couldn't get any reason. So I had to shop around to find internet that actually works. And I found some that's very good. And you'll be seeing me more often now that I have working internet.
Good. I just got a text from Tony Merkel. He's having to change internet providers because they're screwing around with him. And it was really he was texting me before the show today. We're just talking, and we're talking a lot about stuff. And I told him, I was telling him, I was like, man, there's just people come for you. It's wild. It's wild.
It's crazy that stuff that happens while you're doing this. It's insane.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so sorry, Jess. We totally got off topic and we didn't take the questions. I'm sorry.
Nope. I've been copying them though, so I
You're
actually
the best.
I have a bunch of them here. If you're ready.
Yes, I am.
So, and I did for anybody. I apologize for that, but it's lag. I apologize if I talked over you.
Oh, you're good, Randy.
So I think we covered Norma's. I think it's Curry Wright says, I caught a video where Travis posted about the story behind the Patterson Gimlin footage. Can you say something about that?
So who caught that?
Curry Wright.
Curry Wright, what did he say about the footage?
You had posted something about the story behind it.
Yeah, so the story behind the footage of the Patterson Gimlin film. So Dad had talked to this lady called Bobby Short. Okay, so Bobby Short. So let me make this very clear. Is Bobby Short had a phone call with Dad, and this is what Bobby Short said about the Patterson Gimlin film. Bobby Short claims to have seen the entire film. What she claims is that there's a group of elite hunters that if the government has Bigfoot problems, okay, so they have a clan of them that's doing stuff they shouldn't do, eating people, any name it. That's not what that. These are government specialized hunters. They come in, they have specialized trained dogs, and they get rid of the problem. One of the ways they would do it, and Bobby Short said that these hunters took trophies and whatnot, and trophies would be Mounted heads, hides, hands, things of that nature. But again, you can't really show off these trophies. It's just for your own purposes. But that's what
Yeah.
she said. She said they also had trained dogs that were not afraid of these things. One of the tactics that Bobby Short said that these folks did, and she called these folks the Canadians, is what she said. She said that they would get a juvenile and they would stake it out, and then when the adults would come to rescue, then they would unload on the adults. Whatever deal was made with Patterson and whatnot to capture a fleeing Bigfoot, I don't know, but that was what Bobby Short said on a phone call to my father. That is where that story comes from. She has told that story to multiple other people. Can we prove what she's saying is true? No. But here's what I will tell you. You will never see another film like the Patterson Gimlin film. That is the clearest, best film you will ever see of a female Sasquatch. Period. In the sentence. If we ever do, I will be shocked. But that's what it was. That Bigfoot was under duress of some sort. I don't know what duress, but it was under duress or giving up or something was happening. That was not normal circumstances. So that's my theory on it. I just don't know. But what she said, with what we know that the government and the federal parks and all that can do and have done and all that tracks.
It does make sense.
So
888 Attraction Power wanted to know, says, "Hi Travis, what do you think about the cover-up of Nephilim eating soldiers in Afghanistan story that was covered up?" Yeah.
Dude, that's one of the wildest, coolest things ever. So L.A. Marzulli did this, and it is the Giant of Kandahar. So this I think this bad boy, apparently this giant had been eating some soldiers and picking them off, and they went up to see what the heck was going on. They didn't know it was a giant at the point. They thought that it was like another group of insurgents or whatnot. They come out, and this daggum giant, they said, that was in like old armor of they said old biblical armor, comes out.
Armor?
Yes, runs over, puts this, spears this guy. They're all like screaming, and they blow the giant's head off. And then that was the story there. I 1,000% believe that. Because there's been this one guy that talked about how his grandmother was one of the ones that fed it. Like it like one of the witches that fed this thing and kept it kind of away. But yeah, I definitely believe in that. But yeah, the Giant of Kandahar is the story behind it, and L.A. Marzulli did a really good job of bringing that to light and bringing that maybe to the forefront. But that's a wild story.
Another question is from Don Moore. Says, "Travis, I agree. I think the missing 411 and others are taken to the dumbs. What about aliens, cryptids, government abducting Nephilim bloodline humans?"
Yeah, so the problem with the Bigfoot is they don't just, with researching and talking about the Bigfoot, it doesn't just end there. There's always dogmen, aliens, things of that nature that follow, and they're always in the same perimeter area or whatnot. The government definitely knows about all this stuff. I do believe that I honestly believe that whatever aliens are, I believe they're Nephilim, they're fallen angels, they're half breeds, whatever species of that, because I definitely believe there's different classes and species and whatnot. Whatever the aliens are, they're obviously in communications and talks with Bigfoot and whatnot. And again, for someone coming into this, they're thinking we're crazy. But
Aren't we all a little
yeah,
crazy?
we're all a little crazy, but the world is insane.
There
Yes.
But okay, people will think we're crazy, but talking about aliens and Bigfoot and everything, I noticed, and I showed Jesse on a live phone call on a live video one night after I'd had a really good night of getting some calls and stuff where I was investigating. I can see from my house the area that I was at that night. That particular night was really active, but then they had these lights in the sky that moved, not the way normal things move that we know, were all over that area. And I showed her, I was like, look at that. And they were just like they were chasing each other. So
Yep.
you have the physical, you have the things in the air, that's in the same area. I believe they're all together. They have that blood lineage.
I do. I have never told you guys this story before, but Dad told me this. We were fishing on Norris Lake. He told me that we were out fishing. It was a little bit later at night. We were doing some night fishing, which for the longest time I was always scared of the dark, like terrified of the dark. And I'm still not. I'm okay-ish with it. I'm not. I'm still. But I was like, and I'm always like, thanks for telling me this story, Dad. So we're fishing off this point, and Dad talks. He's like, your Papa on Newport, which is my mother's, which is my mother's dad. He's like, he talked about the UFOs he seen one time. I was like, what are you talking about, Dad? He said he was fishing, and he said they looked like a daggum. He said it looked like a boat, and he said it came down, it hovered, and then these other two ones like were fighting with it and just going left and right and all that, and then they flew away. But it looked like they were fighting up in the air above Norris Lake, and it was, and that's what my grandfather saw. And we're talking about the 60s and 70s, So that's just wild to me. But so I don't know. There's always been a paranormal twist in my family, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I didn't believe in UFOs, Bigfoot, werewolves, and vampires until I'd seen some of them.
Yeah.
In 2009, if you like X-Files, watch season 1, episode 2. They're investigating pilots at Tinker Air Force Base coming up missing or having mental issues. And Mulder holds up a picture of a black triangle. That is exactly what he shows you in that picture. Is exactly what I saw fly over me at treetop level, very, very slowly. I mean, I couldn't deny that UFOs are real.
Dude, absolutely. I think X-Files honestly does a great job of showing you what's out there. And if people notice the whole point of all those episodes, what was the big thing? The entities had made deals with the government to hybridize the human species. That was the thing. So,
and if you remember, they were talking about some virus being released that was going to wipe out the population on the earth.
Aha. Bingo.
And then they got killed after that.
How about it? So I'm telling you, they tell us, these folks tell us what is happening. They tell us what is happening, just all this. And notice how again, viewer discretion advised. This is absolutely for entertainment purposes only. Notice how all these occults, all these entities, all this is revolving around intercourse. Like it's a big deal to them. Like it is like that energy, that power, that whatever that is, it is all, the magic, the magic. And it's all that. It's they want to interbreed with humanity for some reason. why do you think they want to corrupt the genome, that gene so much, or why do you think it matters to them that much, guys?
It's an easy question to answer. If you believe the Bible, when Jesus returns, will he find faith upon this earth? Which means, in my interpretation of that, will there be 100% humans when he returns? Or will have Satan have wiped out the human race or polluted it like he had done before the first flood?
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm a little bit of a pre-tribber, so I think we come out after that. But who knows? Who knows, bro?
That's
What
my
about
opinion. Again,
do,
this is
do,
my theory.
do you think there's a possibility that they may think that since they were told that there is no forgiveness for them or any of their kind, that they think that if they interbreed with us enough that they will find that forgiveness and fall underneath the blood?
Yes, I do believe that their way of redemption, they're trying to corrupt everything so that God has no choice. Because God promised us redemption, not them. But if they corrupt enough, they can maybe find a way through that. Because the whole book of Enoch is them coming to Enoch and be like, "Will you talk to God and try to represent us?" And Enoch's like, "I'll try, I'll see, but I don't think so, big boys." That's the wild part about it.
It almost makes you wonder, does it go back to kind of like what Randy was saying? Will there be any left? The 140 some thousand, will that be the only ones left that will be pure?
Maybe. I just don't
I hope
don't
not.
know.
That's
I
not a
hope
very big
not.
number.
I'm a big I'm a big Chuck Missler guy, and I really like the way he lays it out. And I believe just about everything the way he talks about it. He believes that we're going to be out of here. Now, does he believe that we're not going to go through persecution? No.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
we're going to go through persecution. It's so an Americanized idea that we're going to go through no persecution. We're going to go through so much persecution, not even funny. But I think that we're going to be boom. As soon as we go up, just like L.A. Marzulli says, they come down. They will have a talking point, and at that point, man, who knows what the poor people, the saints that start believing after that point will have to endure. That's why I believe they're talked about so much, is that what they have to endure at that point will be, oh my gosh.
Jesus even told us, not to worship the stars.
Hmm.
He knew what they were. Stars are not just gas balls in the sky.
I,
You know,
exactly. Travis, I don't, I see, I'm so weird. I'm telling you, I'm one of those, I'm not a, I don't know if they're even gas balls. I
I
don't
don't
know
think
if they're even that
I don't think
far.
they are. I don't. You know,
I'm a realm person. How's that? Is that too much?
here's another left field one. Is the Earth flat or is it?
Yes.
You know, everybody's having that debate right now.
Dude, I was a big Rob Skiba fan, and I've argued the flat Earth since like 2016 on Twitter. That's what I used to be known as, is like the flat Earth guy. Like,
Oh
I would
yeah.
argue that. So I've kind of dropped that mantra on Twitter, but yeah, I argued that for years and years and years. Um, I evens to the point where my family is like, yeah, it's flat, no big deal, and go on. Like, seriously, they're there. And here's and oh gosh, so my and how I got my wife was, especially I was like, so baby, you're a radiology tech, all about radiation. She's like, yeah, baby. And I said, so if how they say they went to the moon and they went through these things called the Van Allen belts. I was like, you put that big bunch of lead on me just for like a small x-ray. These guys went through that and then came back with all their technology, or with all the radiation shielding of a tin can, and they were just fine. Is that possible? And she's like, no, it's not possible. Like, she's like, no, there's no way. I was like, okay, I just wanted to make sure, and then that's what really got her thinking. It's in this, and then she was in the rabbit hole with me.
There's a TikTok. I can't remember which one it was, but this lady has it's like a dome, right? and you can set the numbers to it, and it has all the constellations on it, and you can set those numbers however you want, dates, times, or whatever, and it's exact. But if you do it on a ball, it don't work.
Exactly. The one thing that really got me was it really messed with me, and it still messes with me to this day. So I'm on a sunny day. I'm walking out there, and I can see the moon, and I can see the sun, and the moon's half full, and I'm like, but shadow, wait, hold on here, yeah, and then that's the one where your brain like explodes, you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it doesn't, But people, people will say I'm crazy. Oh, it's shadow refraction, and that's fine. That's fine.
Hey, I seen something that blew my mind, man. I'm not going to say when because I don't want to get in trouble. We'd have to do a Patreon, but I'll give you an example of something that me and my mom and everybody witnessed. We went during a solar eclipse out into the woods where we knew there'd be nobody around. There's nothing there, right? Just open sky and the middle of nowhere. And we decided we was going to hang out there and watch it, with the kids. We took the kids down there. So sun's over here, like you said. The moon's over here, and we're out there. And of course, when they get close, the wind picks up. It gets a little breezy, not real bad, just breezy. You can tell that the birds start chirping. The wildlife are recognizing, something's happening. Up. Right. And then the weird thing happens. The sun gets dark from the opposite side of the moon, and it goes backwards.
That's the weird part.
I'm like, how does that happen?
How does that even happen?
It should have started from the side the moon was on, but it didn't. It was opposite. I was like, but I didn't say nothing. I didn't want to freak the kids out,
When we went through the eclipse, I remember watching it. Here's the weird part. If everything's what they say it is, it's just a light, and the sun should just be able to shine past the shadow and just be fine. And it shouldn't cast a weird shadow, by the way, on anything. During that time, dude, the shadows were weird, man. Like, I literally would see the shadows of trees, and it was just like the weirdest thing. It was coming from like 20 different directions. That was what really freaked me out. Is I looked at the tree branches, and the light coming through the branches was in the shape of like crescents. It was the wildest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, that's why when you get a solar eclipse, that's why they have you do the whole pinhole, so you can actually watch the eclipse from behind you with the pinhole thing, and it does the same thing. But yeah, it is
like if it's just a light, I should be able to cover the light up, do a pinhole, and it's just a pinhole. You see what I'm saying? Right. Like, I can do that experiment now. Like, it shouldn't just be a covered up. You know what I'm saying? And if it's a big, massive thing, it's just to me. Again, entertainment purposes only.
Right.
The further you put an object from you in a straight line, the smaller it will appear, and it will fall below line of sight. Correct. And as I'm a long range shooter, and I understand that while, doping my scope, that you have to account for range, you have to account for, depending on how far you're shooting, drift, bullet coefficiency, and even the thermal rise of the heat off the earth, depending on the range that you're firing at. But one thing I don't understand is we account for bullet drop, but in that whole equation, how come we don't account for curvature?
Well, yeah, exactly. They don't do a curvature. They because it doesn't exist. Especially when it comes to when they're doing missiles and line of sight and these rail guns. By the way, they don't account for curvature with that. Notice that also, like, I always mess with people. People will be like, well, Tcarp, we the snipers, they do, what is it, the drift, what is it called? curvature of the Earth. What is it called when they try to account for the curve?
Oh,
The Coriolis
yeah,
effect. Oh,
yeah,
Tcarp, you're the Coriolis effect, or whatnot. And I said, "Oh, okay. Well, here's what I want you to do. If the Earth changes and rotates so far underneath that bullet while it's up, do me a favor. Throw a ball up in the air. Oh, you caught it, didn't you? How about that? And that
yeah,
ball's way up higher in the air, and the Earth should be rotating. There should be no
right.
possible way we do that.
And
And
it
if
should.
that works, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say it should be impossible to shoot a skeet with a shotgun with the,
It's absolutely impossible. And it should be, if we're all like just in the thing, like why can't I just take a hot air balloon and just wait for the Earth to just rotate right underneath me?
right.
If that's the thing. So I like when I say things like that, people obviously, oh,
Yeah.
theory of relativity, So I get I've been through the rabbit hole with that. I sorry to totally get us off track.
No, I like talking about, because I mean, when it comes down to it, if one thing's a lie, doesn't it all have to
That's
not be
exact.
true?
That's exactly what Dad taught me. Is listen. The problem is everything that you've been taught is a lie, and that is really that's what once you have that one domino fall, you have to understand that everything that you have been told is a lie. Everything that you have been told is a lie by who? Our enemy. Whose system are we in? We are in the beast system. We are in the fallen system. We are in his world, not God's at the moment. Okay. I'm saying at the moment. Why could he and how could he tempt Jesus with all the kingdoms of the earth? Because he had control of them. Okay. Jesus is coming back to rule and reign. He hasn't done it yet. He's in it at his father's side, and his father is telling him he's going to tell him when to come get us. Okay. But right now we're still in the devil's playground. And the
Yep.
devil controls everything. And what is the devil? He is the father of all lies. So why in the heck would he tell you the truth about science,
Right.
about the world you're living in, about history, about anything?
Well, the first time Jesus came, he came as a lamb, the sacrificial lamb. The second
Yep,
time he comes, he's going to come as a lion.
that's exactly right. In when Jesus came, he takes the scroll of Isaiah and turns it out and reads it, and he's talking about how the people will be bonded, people will be set free, and et cetera, et cetera. And then he stops at a comma and closes the book and says, "And this day is this prophecy fulfilled in your ears." Well, here's the thing. He stopped at a comma. He said, the comma continues and it says, and then the day of vengeance of our Lord. That day has not been fulfilled yet. I pray for those on the earth during the day of
Oh man,
vengeance of our Lord. I can't fathom God's vengeance. Whoa.
I know a lot of people that's going to.
Yeah. Michael looked at the punishment for the Watchers and shuddered at that.
Yeah, I seen that.
Michael shuddered at that. And it's like, and that's just vengeance upon that. Could you, and people think that the Bible's not cool. Jesus is going to come down, and that dude's, it literally says he's going to just slaughter everybody. And sorry, I always
Blood,
thought,
blood
yeah.
as high as the reins of a horse.
Yes. And as a kid, I grew up and, Jesus is a meek, mild little Jesus. And I'm like, that's not my Jesus. When I read my Bible, my Jesus is a warrior. He
Yep.
is not, all these people, all these Odin people making fun of Jesus saying he's like, oh, dude, you have no freaking clue. Sorry, I get fired up.
Our God, Jehovah, Travis, has many names. And let's not forget, God is also the God of war.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
I get fired up about it. I get fired up. Sorry.
Sometimes you have to sell your cloak and buy a sword.
That's exactly right. and I can't stand the wussification of the Christian church. So you got me fired up, man. You got me so wild. I just can't stand it, man. I can't stand
Monday night church. Here we go.
That's
Yeah.
exactly right. I can't
Yeah,
stand this
Every- all the-
wussification of Christians.
Go ahead, Travis. Sorry about
I
that.
can't. No, you're good. I can't stand this wussification of Christians because I'm telling you, in the days to come, if I'm wrong about pre-trib, I pray that I'm not. But if I'm wrong about pre-trib, we're going to need some real Christian men to stand up and take care of those people, because by gosh, it's going to be hard. You think this is hard? This is nothing. This is nothing compared to the persecution that people went through in the name of Christ. People were burned at the stake, for God's sake, for their Christian God. Could you imagine being everyone's like, oh, I wish I wasn't a disciple. No, you don't. No, you don't. Dude, Peter got freaking crucified upside down and asked for it because he said, I'm not worthy to be crucified like my Lord. Could you imagine?
People don't die like that for something that ain't real.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. All of the disciples were either burned at the stake, beheaded, cut open, quartered and drawn for their testimony. And you don't die, like you said, you don't die for a lie. You don't die like that for a lie. And they all knew that their brethren were dying like that, and they still did it. They knew what they were, So I just, sorry, I get really fired up about it.
I do too. I always tell everybody on my channel and everything, I give glory to God, because without him, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing or where I'm at. And, when he's for you, who can be against you, right? And all things are possible with him. And
Amen.
Absolutely. Amen. Amen to that. My battery's about done.
I was getting ready to say, you probably want to rest your back anyways. And
oh, shoot.
You have so many other ones that we could talk about too, that you released, And
it's such a, what I'm going through is I'm just going through Dad's old logs, and it's just treasure troves of things that, because there's so many new subscribers that haven't seen it, and it's like, man, we're just going to put it out and talk about it and do that. And it's also therapy for me too. There's times I just get to be with Dad again. So it's just a lot of, go ahead.
Where can we get your father's book at for those who don't have it yet?
Yes. So now you can get this on Amazon, okay? That's the best place to get them. Don't go to the Etsy or anything like that. I'm not able to get them to you there, but if you buy them from Amazon, you can get these books, you can get all this. I would get The Truth Denied, I would get The Nephilim Among Us, and then I would get the if you don't want The Truth Denied or Nephilim Among Us, that's fine. Get the Sasquatch Awareness Project. It's like, I think, is it $15? How much is it, Jess? I'm so sorry. I'm terrible at this.
I think so. I think all the books were pretty much between 15 and 20. I don't think any of them were over.
Yeah.
Right now on Amazon for $20.
Yeah. Get that on Amazon, $20. Like, you can have everything we're talking about, so it's easier to keep up with. But I'm reading it for those that don't want to spend $20. Dude, hey, I get it. Please just, it doesn't cost you a dime to watch, to give a thumbs up, to like and subscribe. It supports me. It supports the family. It's paying for it. It's paying for me to do some mission trips in October that I haven't talked about, that I really might go and ask my subscribers to help support. It really helps us in the legacy, and I promise you, I'm not out driving Bugattis and anything with it. I promise you that. It definitely goes to help me and my kids, and it's a blessing. Every book bought is a blessing, and I'm so grateful for you guys.
And always remember, your dad, my dad, everybody else that's lost a loved one, if you believe and you're saved, it wasn't goodbye. It's see you later.
I was talking to Rebecca about that. Rebecca's my wife. We were at Dollywood last night, and I said, babe, like I'm to the point now where so I pray that I never leave before you do, because like you sometimes you get these thoughts of I just can't wait to be with him again, just to go hang out. Like I'm done with it down here. I just want to go see dad again. And it's that you miss them so much, but you know they're still alive. You know they're there. They're just not here.
Mhm.
It's such a weird feeling.
Yeah.
So
Their work here was done.
yeah, and like I said, I think I think that hedge of protection that the Lord had on Dad, He lifted, and He said, and I dare say what the Lord's plans are. But what if, like like it says in Esther, it's like, what if for a time such as this? What if God is saying and telling me, it's like, you're not going to sit on the sidelines. You're going to have to talk about this, and you're going to talk about things that people don't want to talk about. You're going to talk about the spiritual realities of life. You're going to talk about Bigfoot, what your dad did. You're going to talk about this, and you're not going to shut up about it because I'm not going to let you.
What if people weren't ready for the truth that your dad found yet?
I don't think they were. I think people are I think people are more than ready now. People that when dad did all this, we're talking about 10,000, 15,000 subscribers max. We're almost at 75,000 subscribers. People, when dad died, like it made my local news. Like that's what blew my mind. That it's like it's to the point now. About every month at work, they'll be like, "Hey, are you that guy?" Like, and I'm like, "Yes." Well, it's like, "Is your dad this?" And it's not again, it's not there. Like, I'll get maybe once or twice a month, but it's not. But here's this: I can say that it's not a coincidence that I'm doing this. And then locally, I have a very well known podcaster that lives literally right down the road from me. And then another very well known thing. And then a lot of the podcasters, a lot of the folks are conglomerating in this area for some reason. I do not think it's a coincidence. Um, I I have tried to ignore God, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll just do a video or two. I'll just do this." And then it's like, "No, I'm going to have someone ask you to do this, and you're not going to say no. And you're going to try to say no, but you're not going to say no. And you're going to stay up at night and not be able to sleep until you say
Yeah.
yes." Like that crap. Like you know how again, I'm not equating myself to Joan but it's like I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And then God's like, sorry, kiddo, you're in it.
Yeah.
And I genuinely like I have to like I don't it's if I don't use what the audience God gives me, I am throwing away a gift. Does that make sense?
Yep. His will shall be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether it's here's the thing, if I don't do it, he'll find someone else to. So it ain't me. But I want to be on God's good side too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You don't want him.
and I am an imperfect vessel to do his will.
Oh yeah.
And it is not me. I am majorly imperfect. And I have sins and I have failed every day. And I am, oh God, if you guys knew, I fall short every day, my friends.
Me too. Real short.
There's only one on this earth without sin, and his name is Jesus.
That's right. And here's the thing: you will not find this on 1 to 2% of paranormal podcasts, guys, that talk about Jesus. They'll talk about anything else but this. So, guys, I really do. I want to thank you guys so much for your friendship. Thank you so much for all your support for me. I got your back. You guys know that.
Oh yeah.
With that said, I love all three of you. and I'm going to hit the sack. Bye,
Well,
guys.
man,
Thank you to thank you to everybody who's watched and comment and all that. I'm gonna listen a little bit from the bed. I love you guys. Good
we
night.
love you too. We love you too, man.
Love you, man. Good
See you,
night.
bye.
Good night.
Always a great show with him. You know, God has blessed me with a good friend, not just, you know, a colleague. He's like family, and he has so much knowledge, and it's nice to be able to speak with somebody with so much knowledge and, I don't know, just compassion. And he's a good man, and you don't find a
Mhm.
lot of people like that anymore. And we definitely stand behind him here, and he's welcome to share anything on our page or anything he needs to do whatever he needs to do. I totally agree with everything that he's doing. I want to thank the audience tonight for such a great turnout also, because we couldn't do it without you guys either. You guys are family, and you guys are great too. And I've seen a lot of great comments, and just you all visiting. It's nice to see, and it's nice to hang out with you guys, because that's what makes us go over here. And I know y'all are going to be ready for Tuesday night for the Boots on the Ground. Everybody's always ready for that. And we'll be going out at 9:15 again this Tuesday night for Boots on the Ground. But with that being said, guys, I'm tired also, so I'm going to let Jessie start saying what she wants to say before we end this, and we'll go to Randy, and then I'll do the final thoughts, and we'll get out of this one at just a little over 2.5 hours.
Well, just want to say thanks everybody for showing up and supporting the channel. Make sure you stay hydrated, check on your neighbors, be good to one another, and God bless.
Good evening, Abnormal family. We would like to thank you for joining us. As you've heard, we couldn't do a show without you. Join us next Tuesday, or this coming Tuesday, for another Boots on the Ground with Mike, for another date night with Mike, and see if he survives. Or is he going to get whacked in the head again? Tune in next time to find out. And I'll turn it back over to you.
All right. Guys, I appreciate it. I appreciate the hearts for the boys. News I wish I could share with you guys. I cannot share it, but I promise you, God is good. That's what I want to say. Glory to God for what's happening. God is good. And when the time is right and God says that I can show you what he has done and what he is doing, I will show you. And Wide Open Adventures, guys, we got some good shows over there. It's growing. We're getting a lot of views over there. The view count's up. Y'all have truly stepped up over there. I think Randy's got the link to it. He can throw in there if y'all are interested. But yeah, we'd like to invite you over there. Also, we're going to have some lives over there coming up, some more stuff coming up. But guys, we really appreciate you, and we couldn't do it without you guys. It was good seeing y'all tonight, and I hope to see y'all Tuesday night. And hopefully, I'm not bait. And if I am bait, I hope that I can at least outrun it, which Randy says I can't outrun it, so it's probably going to be a bad thing if it chases me. But guys,
Don't run.
Don't
You'll
run.
just die tired.
So, guys, we're going to jump out of here. Thank you, each and every one of you. Good night. Keep your head on the swivel. Don't be something's dinner. God bless, and we'll see you on the next one.